Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, a 22-year-old man from Houston is in the Victoria County Jail facing charges of human smuggling. And the war in Israel continues into day 4. Plus, 2 pilots were hospitalized after their racing balloons crashed in North Texas.
Well, believe it or not, a tropical system in the Pacific is actually sending us all this moisture. It's going to be gloomy and wet overnight until tomorrow afternoon. We'll have all the details coming up in just a moment.
General Motors have settled their strike at a Canadian plant less than a day after it started. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Karina Garcia. James Munoz is on assignment. A human smuggling suspect now in the Victoria County Jail. 22-year-old Emilio Guillermo Osuna of Houston arrested Monday by DPS in Kennedy on a traffic stop. He's facing 4 charges of human smuggling. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $40,000 bond. 18-year-old Jordan Reen Pena of Victoria arrested in court today by the Victoria County Sheriff's Office. Pena was ordered to appear before a judge on a bond warrant. He is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Pena is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $100,000 bond. Early Tuesday morning, after a chase, Hallettsville police arrested 51-year-old Aubrey Lucen Barnes of Hallettsville. Barnes taken into custody on charges of evading in a vehicle, evading on foot, and driving while license was invalid with prior conviction. Barnes booked into the Locke County Jail in lieu of a $20,000 bond. It's day 4 in the war between Israel and Hamas. The Israeli prime minister has vowed to keep up the attacks after the terrorist group launched a surprise assault on Israel over the weekend by land, sea, and air. So far, the total number of dead on both sides surpassing 17,000.
Street after street of Gaza City decimated, rubble in this Palestinian territory stretching as far as the eye can see. This video taken from a hospital window shows mushroom clouds billowing in the air after Israel's defense forces unleashed relentless missile attacks around the clock, this assault striking docked ships at a Gaza port. Israeli authorities say they're targeting Hamas terror hubs, but innocent civilians have been killed as a result. Video shows rescue crews pulling a survivor from debris in Gaza. And across the border in Israel, air raid sirens ringing as Hamas terrorists fire another barrage of rockets into the south. The IDF telling ABC News that they have regained control over the area adjacent to the border with Gaza.
We do have a lot of ground troops in this area. We have a lot of tanks, and we're prepared for anything. And this is the area where we're going to be presenting ourselves and finishing this battle.
But admit it is possible some Hamas terrorists may remain.
These armored jeeps are going towards where we've been hearing this incessant gunfire.
Which is what our Matt Gutman seemed to find after being allowed into the area while live on The View.
We have to leave. What's going on?
Matt had to be rushed out by Israeli forces due to a security threat.
We were in this town. It was called Kibbutz Kfar Aza earlier today, where we saw the evidence of this horrific massacre. Dozens of people killed, and Israel had just tried to gain control of it, but as you can see, they do not have control of the situation right here.
President Biden addressing the situation this afternoon.
This was an act of sheer evil. More than 1,000 civilians slaughtered, not just killed, slaughtered in Israel. Among them, at least 14 American citizens killed. Parents butchered using their bodies to try to protect their children. Stomach-turning reports of babies being killed.
And the IDF now saying it is engaging with Hezbollah on Israel's northern border, raising fears of a possible second front. Inez de la Quatera, ABC News, Tel Aviv, Israel.
In Houston, hundreds gathered at a synagogue to denounce the terror attacks on Israel. The Jewish Federation of Greater Houston held the event on Monday. Several local leaders standing for Israel came together at the synagogue, many of them strongly condemning the terror attacks by the Palestinian militant group Hamas. They said prayers for those lost in the attacks. And now let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez. Mac, dark clouds out there, dark clouds.
Yeah, far cry from where we were just a couple of weeks ago. This is very cloudy, gloomy, light rain, and you're thinking, where is it coming from? It's coming from down here. This is tropical storm, actually hurricane Lydia. Lydia is going to be slamming into Mexico, but all that cloud cover is coming over the mountains of Mexico into Texas and giving us this gloomy stuff. It's a complicated weather map, but it's going to last for another maybe 24 hours, and then we're going to clear up. We'll have all that coming up for you, coming up a little bit later on. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. 2 pilots from Poland are hospitalized after their racing balloon crashed in a power line and caught on fire in North Texas just last night. The crash happened at about 7:25 p.m. in Cranedale, which is about 30 minutes east of downtown Dallas. Race authorities confirmed the pilots were the crash victims. Reports said one had cuts and burns to his arms and legs, and the other suffered burns and broken bones. Both were in stable condition when they were taken to a Dallas hospital. The NTSB and DPS are both investigating. The pair were among 17 teams racing in the Gordon-Bennett gas balloon race. The House Republican majority is unable to come together to vote for a new speaker. After Kevin McCarthy was ousted a week ago, there's still no end game in sight. This evening, the 2 leading contenders, Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, are scheduled to address their colleagues at a candidate forum. But without a speaker, most of the House is paralyzed. The Texas Senate introduced its main bill to establish a education savings account program. The Texas Tribune reports the bill would allow families access to $8,000 of taxpayer money to pay for private schools per year. A school voucher bill is a priority for Governor Greg Abbott this special session. KXAN reports a poll by the Texas Politics Project showed 60% of poll respondents, both Republicans and Democrats, said school safety should be a top priority. So here is your Veer poll this afternoon. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote. The question is, do you support the school voucher bill? Yes or no? We want to hear your opinion on this. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And we're going to have an update later on 25 News Now at 6. A strike at the General Motors plants in Canada is over less than a day after it started. The strike began at 11:59 Monday night when the union, representing more than 4,000 workers, said GM refused to agree to a deal similar to the one the union previously reached with Ford. The union said GM quickly gave in to union demands once the strike started. The strike took place while GM and the other automakers are already dealing with strikes by the UAW union. More than 25,000 union members remain on strike at the 3 companies. The candidate pool for the Republican nomination in next year's presidential election just got a little smaller. Will Hurd announced on Monday that he is dropping out of the primary. The former state congressman issued a statement saying, quote, "It has become clear to me and my team that the time has come to suspend our campaign," unquote. He was an outspoken critic of former President Donald Trump, who is still the front runner. He announced he is endorsing former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley in the race. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5, police in San Francisco investigate a crash into a Chinese consulate building. 1 person was killed. Also ahead, the Wall Street journalist who was arrested in Russia lost his appeal to be released from jail.
Hi, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs with the Victoria Police Department. Victoria Crime Stoppers is seeking information about an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. The Victoria Police Department is requesting assistance in identification of a Hispanic male subject which was caught on surveillance video. The male subject appeared to have facial hair and tattoos on both arms. The suspect was carrying a dark-colored backpack and wearing a silver-colored watch. This crime occurred on August 13, 2023, at a business at the 1300 block of East Crestwood Drive. If you have any information about this unauthorized use of a motor vehicle, please call Victoria Crime Stoppers at 361-572-4200. You can also submit a tip by using the P3 Tip app on your Android or Apple device, or by visiting our website at www.crimestoppersvictoria.com. All tips are anonymous, and if you give information that leads to an arrest or charges being filed, you can earn a cash reward. With the Victoria Police Department, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs.
A man who police say drove into the lobby of the Chinese consulate in San Francisco died. This was the scene Monday afternoon following the crash. Police who responded to the crash made contact with the driver, which resulted in an officer shooting him. The suspect later died after being taken to the hospital. No other information was shared about the suspect or their motives. Police were not made aware of any other injuries from this crash. Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich, who was detained in Russia on espionage charges, has lost an appeal to be released from jail. This means he will remain in jail until November 30th. He was arrested in late March. The U.S. government declared the 31-year-old U.S. citizen as wrongfully detained. Russian authorities have not provided any evidence to support these charges. Gershkovich is the first American reporter to face espionage charges in Russia since 1986. The National Alliance of Mental Health Illness says 1 in 6 youth in the U.S. between the ages of 6 and 17 experience a mental health disorder every year.
It's a growing problem, a mental health crisis in the U.S., and young people aren't immune.
For children, we really should be paying attention, not just when there's a concern or a crisis, but ahead of time.
Pediatric psychologist Ariana Howitt is the executive clinical director of On Our Sleeves, a nationwide children's hospital initiative aimed at promoting children's mental health and wellness. She says that starts with caregivers having open-ended conversations with the child.
At dinner time, we check in with each other and we say, what was the hardest part of your day? What was your favorite part of your day? Tell me about your favorite teacher.
Howitt says parents should normalize how their child feels and model good mental health habits.
Talk about your hard days, talk about your hard emotions and what you're doing to cope with those.
Social connections are critical, so Howitt says encouraging kids to have healthy friendships and join in extracurricular activities can also promote mental wellness.
If a child feels like they're included and they're connected and they're a part of their community, their schools, their home environment, that they are more likely to be mentally well or handle stress better.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The American Red Cross says the U.S. blood supply has reached critically low levels. They're asking high schools and colleges to bring back blood drive donations because they have dropped nearly to 25% since August. Weather and a busy travel season are the reasons why, as well as few blood drives being hosted on campuses. After the pandemic, blood drives dropped to 10% before ticking back up again, but it still hasn't reached pre-pandemic levels. Experts say they hope to see a turnaround this school year.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We see a lot of cloud cover out there, a little bit of drizzle, mist, maybe a little bit heavier overnight as the cloud cover is rolling in from the Pacific on top of us. We will see some rain. It won't be the big thunderstorms. It'll be kind of a light to steady to moderate rain, but it looks a little on a damp and sloppy side, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment, so stay tuned. Good afternoon, everybody. 73 degrees right about now. That's pretty interesting for us, wouldn't you say, after the summer we've been through? Got up to 78. The overnight low was 68. Get a load of that. And we're way below our average temperature because we don't do anything average around here. We just one extreme to another, it seems like. We have a lot of moisture headed up toward our area. There's the city, and you can see how most of the rain has been south of the city, down toward Corpus Christi and headed out toward Mathis and all the way down to Laredo of all places, because the origins of all this moisture is actually in the Pacific Ocean. You can see how they're getting a little bit heavier rain along the border down there in Laredo, but this is not thunder. This is no lightning. This is not severe weather. It's basically an overcast with rain coming out of it. And the reason is that, imagine the moisture from the Pacific has got to go up the mountains of Mexico, over Mexico, and then over Texas. And so there's no real vertical mixing like we do with the severe storms. So this is called stratiform rain. Anyway, so it's damp and it's going to be a little slippery tonight and into tomorrow morning. Not exactly clear and blue, but you know, it could be worse, could be a whole lot serious. Here's the total rainfall that we've had. You can see how the city's just barely picked up enough to record anything. A little bit heavier activity down south of Bloomington, and even heavier as we start moving west. As you can see right about there, the path of the heaviest rain has been basically from Corpus Christi all the way down. Look at that, Highway 59 all the way down to Freer and Laredo. Pretty interesting stuff. But that's where the rain has been heaviest today. But you can see how everybody's sort of included in this sort of damp, drizzly stuff that we're getting. Once again, this is now future tracker, so we're looking forward, okay? So we start off Tuesday, 3 o'clock. And you can see how it's going to be damp, drizzly, and heavier rain down in deep South Texas. And then what happens on Wednesday? All of a sudden, it starts charging out, and all of a sudden, it clears up very rapidly behind it. As a matter of fact, by the time we get to Wednesday night, most of the rain will be over. By Thursday, the cloud deck clears out, and we've got another frontal system coming in that's actually going to keep us on the clear and cool side over the coming weekend. Get a load of the overnight lows, still in the 60s. Tomorrow we'll get up into the 80s. We're sort of in the warm sector. And remember, this is coming up high level moisture. And then when does that next change? Well, we're waiting for another frontal system. Now, first of all, here's an area of low pressure that has potential to develop into a tropical system. And then here is a tropical system, but get a load of this. The winds, you follow these yellow lines, these are the rails where the storms have to go, because this is the steering current. So the upper winds are so strong already over Texas that it's going that way. It is not going north. And so both of these storm systems will be traveling to the northeast, taking the heavy rain close to us, but mostly it's going to be Florida and the East Coast is going to get some of that heavier activity. So 70 tomorrow morning, only 79 tomorrow in Port Lavaca. Northeast winds and a good deck of clouds with light rain, 66, then up to 81, still on the deck of clouds with the light rain activity. Will stay warm through Thursday and Friday night. Another frontal system comes in and going to clear us up and give us a nice, cool, glorious weekend, kind of like the one we had last weekend. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Karina.
Thank you, Matt. Coming up next on 25 News Now at 5, we'll take a look at your stocks. Plus, small businesses in the states dipped in September due to the pressures of inflation. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow up 135 points, the S&P 500 up 23 points, and the Nasdaq up 78 points. Oil down 41 cents, closing at $85.97 a barrel. A survey in the National Federation of Independent Business saw a downturn in mood for small business owners. In September, small business owners reported struggling through high inflation and a labor shortage. The amount of firms expecting better business conditions dropped 43% as well. The survey showed that owners feel like they must raise prices just to stay afloat. And a new survey says trick-or-treaters may get less candy this year due to inflation. 40% of adults surveyed said inflation will impact their plans to buy candy, and among that group, half plan on spending the same amount as last year. But they will be buying less candy overall. Roughly 30% said they will be spending less and buying less. Producers also said a tight sugar supply is affecting the cost as well as cutting into the production of these candy goods. Homes in Central Texas are being built with emerging 3D technology. You can read this story by the Texas Tribune on our CrossroadsToday.com website. Stay with us. We'll take one last look at your forecast. Plus, a Missouri man breaks a world record by paddling a giant pumpkin down the Missouri River. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight right after 25 News Now at 5.
The Hamas terror attack on Israel as strikes and explosions put civilians on both sides and hostages at risk. David Muir and team report from Israel on this fast-moving war tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir.
Experience our streaming service, Crossroads Today Plus. Stream our daily newscasts and much more using your connected TV. Just download Crossroads Today Plus on your Roku, Amazon, Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV. Just search Crossroads Today Plus. And a Missouri man is looking to squash a world record. He paddled in a giant homegrown pumpkin about 38.5 miles down the Missouri River on Monday. It weighed nearly 1,300 pounds. And he's part of a group called Paddle KC. They say it set the new Guinness World Record for longest ride by a pumpkin boat. Now they're just waiting for the official paperwork to make it official. The previous Guinness World Record was held by a Nebraska man who last year paddled down the Missouri River 37.5 miles in an 846-pound pumpkin. Wow,
that's a whole new level of pumpkin there.
That's a dedication.
Yeah, a dedication, no rudder, I mean, what if he tips over?
I can't believe that pumpkin floats.
Well,
how heavy it is.
I fail to understand how they grow these so big.
Look, it's just his little body sticking out. And he's just paddling away.
What if he rolls the other way and it fills up and then it sinks? I don't know.
And what if the fishies get hungry and they start eating away at his pumpkin?
And the fish going, pumpkin, good.
And by the time you get there,
you got no boat.
You got no boat. What can you do?
Well, that is certainly a unique record that he's going for. Well, folks, it's going to be a little damp and drizzly out there overnight and through tomorrow morning. Periods of light to moderate rain. None of this is severe. Certainly no thunder, no lightning, anything like that, but it will be wet. And you know, that's when you got to watch your speed on your car because you're thinking, well, I'm fine. But no, the roads could get slick through tomorrow. Now, tomorrow night, it sort of begins to thin out, and then the clouds will thin out on Thursday. And then Friday, a cool, dry front blows in. It's going to give us, now, you remember the weekend? It was so long ago.
Oh.
It was beautiful, right?
It's Tuesday, but it feels like it was so long ago already.
It was nice, right?
Yeah, it was lovely.
We're going to have another weekend just as nice this coming weekend. So. Going to be perfect.
That's what we like to hear.
Good October weather.
Yeah. All righty. Thank you, Mac, and thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.